Hey, what is up everybody? Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be going ahead and going over the character that quite literally changed all of P5X, and this was mainly for, I guess, the offensive side of things, showing people what they really could do and what they really couldn't do. Now, the reason why I brought this up is because this character is a standard unit and is actually fairly close on global, more than we do think here, especially if we're following the schedule that we're doing currently. So I thought, why not a better time to talk about this character rather than now? So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out quite a lot. But now we talked about this here, one thing I want to say, thank you guys for all the nice comments yesterday. I've been trying to at least lay down stuff like that, of course, but I'm not going to, of course, let you guys not have any videos out. Now I'm working on maybe this one and two others that I kind of manifested a little bit of how I want them to go. But I'm not sure if I'm going to release them all today. It kind of depends. I am still feeling a little bit weird here, but I am at least trying. At the end of the day, I am trying to make sure you guys have something to watch. It's better to have something to watch than nothing to watch at all. So I am going to try and get those videos out, and I'm going to get some rest later on. Thank you guys for all the nice wishes, but we're gonna go ahead and get into the video and start it from here. But now we're gonna go ahead and talk about the character that quite literally changed everything on at least TW and KR here, and as well as for CN, and that was going to be the standard character named Phoebe. Now you guys already saw a silhouette on the thumbnail here, in which I'm not gonna lie to you, Phoebe was a huge change, and it was not only just for her actual playstyle in battle, but it was also just the characteristic of the character being a Navi and the actual confidant that she ended up bringing. Now we're going to talk about everything relying with this character, whether it's her skills, what she really did overall, the weapon, and then her confidant. That's how I'm going to try and break this up. Hopefully I do the timestamps correctly. Some of you guys have been really on my case about that, so I do apologize for that as well, but I'm going to try and get this actually correct. So to start off here, the overall gist of a Phoebe. The reason why this character changed so much inside of at least P5X is because she was the first 5-star Navi that ended up dropping in the game. The good part about her is she is a standard unit, so after her actual limited banner goes away, or her initial banner goes away, she will be in the standard summon pools. So people who have gold, at least cards, are going to be able to summon for those characters or summon for her as well. Now this was a huge deal because the only 5-star Navi in the game quite literally changed so much. It did knock out Okeon for offensive wise, which did kind of suck to some degree. I was one of those poor people who ended up building Okeon very highly and had the 5-star weapon, but she also managed to help out even in the sustainability category, because not only was she just boosting offensive type natures here, but she was able to also boost up your max HP. This actually was very nice for a lot of people who just needed their offensive characters to live a little longer, and it came in handy with some additional offensive perks. I feel like this character definitely did the most change on P5X, besides at least Cord, who was a limited unit, but seeing this one was a standard unit, this really made a huge difference. Because if you just didn't have the 5-star navigator here, well, you were kind of out of luck for at least a whole nother couple patches, because she was very much so needed. You did want to have at least the buffs that she provided here, and wanted to have that extra offensive capability that your DPSs did need. It wasn't that she just left or anything like that. She is a standard unit, so she was immediately in there. But when it came down to at least using the character, if you just didn't have her, you probably weren't going to do all too well inside of at least some of the ranking modes. And that was very well the case, especially with this character. But now if I went over the overall gist of this character, let's break down at least how things actually ended up changing. As I did say, with the weapon here, she did have some offensive capabilities. The weapon itself also changed a lot of things, because when you did have the said weapon, which is Moonlit Feather, it actually increased not only your attack, but with this in mind, with the attack that you increased, we ended up getting even a new card set that allowed Navis to share more of at least their stats. So with that in mind, a lot of people didn't really take into account how much this weapon could change. You're already getting yourself a 30% attack increase, but as well how she does do it, at least make this weapon even better, and I keep saying that, make this weapon even better, she ends up having her main deal, which is her main gimmick, which are cocktails. By forming these said cocktails, you can get yourself even more offensive stats. And this was not only to just one person. No, this was a whole team-wide buff where you were either getting some attack percentage buffs, crit rate percentage buffs, not crit damage dealt percent buffs. You were getting pretty much all of that built into one character, especially if you had this actual weapon. Then of course, if you had the new card set, which was the responsibility card set, and I can actually show you guys how that looks here because I am mentioning it for good reason. This card set ended up dropping with her, and if you had that card set on, you were sharing more of those stats over. So that weapon was getting even more amplified to a point where you really wanted to have it in order to make sure your damage dealt characters were dealing a ton more damage. So not only did you want, of course, that character, but you definitely wanted that weapon. And this was just the tip of the iceberg, because based on the amount of cocktails, or at least the variety of cocktails that she ended up making, it helped out with your skill effects, or as well your actual elemental effects for these skills themselves. This was a huge deal. And if you did, of course, make a cocktail or two, by having this said weapon, you had a chance to reduce her skill cooldowns, meaning you can spam her even more for your DPSs, and it makes things even more crazy. So this was a huge deal for P5X itself. People who just did not have this character or not have the weapon immediately started to see a decrease or value in their DPSs. So it surely made navigators now the new target, or at least must pull characters. Supports were already in that must pull category, and BB made it very clear that a Navi was now in the must pull category due to how much it actually changed for offensive basics, or at least offensive principles here. It really was a needed character. You did not want to go ahead and miss it, and it made a huge difference for a lot of people. Now, with this in mind, of course, we did have some other things that made this unit very, very well needed, and that's going to come down to at least her skills. As I did say, her skills themselves are skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, in which all of these are actually very useful. You're going to, of course, use like skill 1 and skill 3 the most, but skill 2 still was nice as well. And the reason for this is because with all of these skills that she ended up having, she managed to boost attack with her skill 1, boost HP, or at least max HP and damage dealt with her skill 2, and then if her skill 3 was available, she would consume the actual cocktails that you end up making with certain teams here and get yourself a huge boost on attack and damage bonus, as well increasing every last ally's attribute damage. Now, this is going to be based on whoever you end up clicking. So let's say I click Joker, everyone's going to have a huge attribute bonus on Purse. If I click like Florette, who is a winded character, everyone's going to have a huge attribute bonus on Wind. This was something that was not seen before. It was something that quite literally, as an offensive user, felt like a little bit of a must-have. It didn't feel like something you could easily just miss, and it quite literally wasn't something you wanted to miss that often. Although she was a standard character, many people ended up pulling her immediately after seeing this kit in action, and it really did change a lot for people. Because with this in mind, she also had her passives that were pretty darn good, allowing you to get attribute increases as well, and also getting, or randomly getting at the beginning of battle, different flavors in order to make the said cocktails that can make a huge difference. Now, this was based on like the amount of attributes in your team, so like mono teams and stuff like that, but it did not really hurt anyone with this in mind. You just knew that if you had this character with some extra elements in your team, or the same elements in your team, that you were going to prosper heavily. And that was a huge deal for a lot of people that I feel like some of you guys really need to pay attention to when she does come around. I feel like if there's any standard character that I would consider summoning on, it would most likely be this character here, because we don't know how fast you guys are getting Futaba, and we don't know how fast it's gonna happen. Now, why am I mentioning this to you all here? Is because if we go ahead and take a look at the version amount here, and I'm actually just gonna have her like do a different pose, I guess. But if we go ahead and take a look at the version amount here, I want to say we're in like 1.0. Yeah, we're in 1.0 currently, but we're moving fairly quick. With the characters that we do have next, we know that Bowie and Marion are coming out. Both of those were in 1.1 and then 1.2, but we're getting them in our 1.1, right? Well, we are having a special event back to back, which are going to be Fox and Queen's Crossfade. With that in mind, right after Fox and Queen on TW and KR, immediately was Phoebe, who is a standard character, then Cord. So this was a huge deal. We didn't get at least a actual navigator for quite some time, and at least for KR's sake, we don't get a Navi until 2.3. So it makes Phoebe a little bit of a want or have for at least that time, because we do know half of these, at least what's it called, updates, are going to last for at least 2 to 3 weeks. So having an offensive Navi like this, it was really nice. And once Futaba does come out, you'll have this offensive Navi meant for more of a mono team, and you'll have Futaba, who's morally meant for any type of team, and she can weakness implant, and she can at least have the crit rate and crit damage buffs there that you do need. So I mean, it honestly just comes down to how you really feel. But that's just going to be one of the things that were kind of here just for the combat wise for this character. The other thing that made this character absolutely worth it was actually her Confidant. Her Confidant allowed you so you can make yourself some energy drinks here at your release home and be able to get some of your activity points back too. So you weren't only just going for this character in general just to have her for basic amount of stuff, but you wanted to just do her Confidant regularly, because if you just do her Confidant, she changed a lot of things when it comes down to at least the activity points. So it was a little bit of a nice thing just as an all-around update, but that was the main deal when it did come down to this character. I do advise a lot of you guys think about it, especially when it comes down to her. I might end up summoning when it comes down to at least her being here. I'm still unsure though, and I'll try to have more of a clear objective on if it's really worth summoning for her when the time does come. But thank you guys for watching the video. Until next time, peace out, have a nice day.